from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Hello, Uglies, and welcome to the first post-mortem recap of the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 666. We are your hosts through this realm of darkness, the Queens of Darkness, Swanthula
and Drakmorda,
the Boulet Brothers, and here we are, and we are so excited about this season. Oh, it's finally out in the world.
I can't believe that everybody can finally watch the show.
I know.
You know, we've been living it for months and months and months, and hi, we were there when it happened. Hi, hello.
Hello, hi, we were present. How are you?
So it's really exciting now to see that it's out and to see everyone's reaction to it.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 6 is streaming now on Shudder and AMC+. So if you haven't seen it yet, absolutely pause this episode of the podcast because it is full of spoilers. Like, this is just, that's what the mission is here, is to just deep dive into the episode. So
So there are a few recap shows out this year, which I noticed, and you should definitely go listen to all of them. But this one varies a little bit because we're doing it more from the perspective of the directors and the hosts. So we were there and we saw things that the audience can't see. And I feel like we can maybe clear up some things. And then as people have questions, they can always email in and we'll answer them.
And uniquely, when we bring Ian in, this is the first season that he was not on set as the show was being filmed. So we get to see kind of what the show feels like through his eyes as a first-time viewer for the first time ever.
Yeah, and as someone that helped us create it from the beginning, I feel like I've always wanted one of the three of us to have that perspective because, you know, when you're in it, it's hard to look at it objectively. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to see what he thinks of it.
So speaking of that little she-devil, but not the she-devil by night, let's bring in our co-host and our cohort in crime, Ian DeVogler.
I gotta say, I'm really disappointed that you cut out all of my Nightgale triple Xing around on the season. I thought I was gonna win.
Sorry, you never even made it to the cast. You were chopped before the first floor show.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I spent a lot of time in that van.
There you go. So you finally got to see it. What did you think overall?
I was gagged. Gagged. There are so many elements of the show that are so fun to see. And I think that I still have a very specific vantage point because, like you said, I know what it's like to be on set and I know what it's like to look at that raw clay and then to see it at the end. And so there were a lot of times where I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder how this happened or I wonder how we got here. But I will say I'm very proud. I was pretty aligned on the judging.
Oh,
really?
nice.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool. It's the one thing that I promised myself I would do this season is to pause before deliberation and to kind of map out my own choices and be like, all right, like just from the floor show, how do I rank these people? How do I rank these artists? And I was pretty spot on.
I love that because that means we get to look forward to Ian's predictions every episode from this point forward. Yeah, and I'd like to know if they're in alignment with our opinions.
That can be the first secret. Like, obviously, our opinion and the guest judges play very heavily, but the producers on the show obviously have a lot to do with it too. And sometimes there could be people there from the network and everything, and it does matter. Everyone has a voice in it. It's just that ours is a little louder.
Ours is a little louder.
As it should be.
Send her home. Kill her.
It's time for this bitch to die.
Are you talking about me with Hoso in season 4 from
my
the Ghost
God.
Ship? I'm sorry, Hoso. I was mad.
That was amazing. It's her time. She's got to go. And I was like, will you eat something?
I know, seriously. I'm like, Ian's gone insane. Screws are loose again. Someone grab a ratchet. This bitch isn't thinking right.
And then I raided craft services and I was like, well, it's not that bad.
That's all right.
That's so funny. Well, listen, before we take one step further into the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 6 premiere, we need to talk about a little movie that we talked about last episode, thinking like we would see it this week, and we all have, and that is The Substance.
We can only talk about it quickly because we have a lot to get to.
A quick little minute.
I mean, it was the gayest thing I've seen in a long time, in a good way. It was camp.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, I was shocked. You know, obviously, halfway through the movie, I'm starting to be like, what is the, you know, like, okay, like, where is this going? And then when our mother monster made her debut, I was like, we were just laughing the whole time.
The whole movie was so Dragula. It was so LA. Yeah. It was so Filth, horror, and glamour. When Monstro Eliza Sue came on screen, I was like, Oh my god!
She got a nameplate on our show, like a giant nameplate.
There was dynamics, there was creatives. Like she gave us a floor show. I mean, I knew exactly what I was looking at that point, and I was loving it.
Tell me she was not in the lab crafting her look. She's like, here, I'm going to wear this earring because I think it's going to set off this deformity here, and then I'm going to go over there, rip this picture out of the wall, and tape it to my face.
Well, I got really nervous at one point. I almost texted y'all being like, they put the wrong creatives music in. Y'all got to do this. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong movie, wrong show.
Yeah. What did you think, Ian?
I loved it. From the first shot that I could recognize being like, oh, sorry, this movie is my entire personality now, was when Elizabeth is walking in that hallway with all of those pictures of herself, and the camera just kind of rotates around her, and then she walks in profile. I was like, oh, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, bitch. And I mean, Drac, you're right. I'm like, this movie is for sick homosexuals.
Oh yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, all the straight people in our theater were not. They were like, oh my God, look what's happened to her. We're like, look at work.
Come on, Hag. Yes.
Yes, totally.
Once again, I want to point out another granny hag from hell.
And this one is a really powerful one.
Oh yeah, all three versions of Granny Hag are amazing.
I have a spoiler about something else too. Speaking of granny hags from hell, I know everyone knows that we have our DC Comics debut coming out soon, where we wrote a horror story with Wonder Woman, which I love. So make sure you pre-order that at your comic store because I'm sure it's going to sell out. But we also finally did a treatment for Granny Hags from Hell, which is getting published as part of a horror anthology comic.
Yes!
And I'll tell everyone what it's called in the link in a week or two.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's full on too. It's just like we always wanted.
Oh my God, I can't not wait.
We are busy keeping the children fed.
When I told them the story, I was like, here's the 6 ideas that we have for a short in here. And I was like, there's no way they're going to pick. They're not going to pick it. I'm just going to do it because I'm going to start throwing it out there and see what sticks. First choice.
Oh my God. Well, Granny Hags are in. Like, we cannot be the only ones who understand the power of a crone, honey. Just hagging around.
Anyways, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be digging in the first episode of the Boulet Brothers Dragula 666. Stay tuned, Uglies.
All right, my darlings, we are back, and it's time to dig into the corpse of the premiere of the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 666. Let's talk about this intro. Ian, what were your thoughts?
Let's talk about this intro. I love it. I feel like this is not only an homage to, of course, classic Hollywood, but also an homage to sort of the... I'm gonna say sexy sort of intros of. It makes me think of like season 3, where even though the show was going into more of like an intense horror route, there was also still a little bit of like a horniness to it, but kind of tasteful. Like, I mean, I will say, girl, feet for free. Oh my God. I was like, ooh, we're in bed with the Boulets, honey.
We're just going to give them a little taste, and then we're going to put the rest on our Patreon and OnlyFans.
Oh my God. But the sexiness of the dead guy orgy aside, it's so fun. Like, I love POV camera work. Like, I love that. And I kept trying to think about like, okay, what shots do I think are actually Drac and Swan, and then what is sort of like, you know, maybe the camera person with like, you know, Drac's arm or something. But then I was like, there is no way that they did this and they were not driving this fucking car.
We did it.
That's true.
We did it.
Yeah.
And we drove the
yeah.
car. We were in the whole thing. Yeah.
Drac had this apparatus on. I don't even know what they call it, but it was like this rig so that her hands could be free, but the camera was mounted. So
that's you the whole time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Realist, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was so heavy. Like when I was walking through the house, like at first I was like, I don't care. Carissa, throw it on me. I don't care. And then I was like, oh.
you're like, this is what can't rob
But
suffer
of course I couldn't
through.
say anything. I'm like, I'm fine. I have to be director. Like, don't worry about it. And then I was like, ooh, in the back.
You're like, oh, I need the substance.
Exactly.
It was so fun. And those guys that we bloodied up, like we painted them up with the blood and everything. And they were so excited to do that. They were living their best life being victims in the opener of the season. Like we could have done whatever we wanted.
I always
should.
forget what those, like when we plan those moments, I don't think about what they're actually going to be like to be there and shoot them. And there's the two of us in the bed with all, and I was like, this is weird. It's
Like,
silent. I'm like,
totally.
this is really weird.
Oh yeah. It was like hand drag with like no makeup. It was very, very weird.
Yes.
So yeah, this was obviously an homage to Hitchcock and classic Hollywood horror movies, which is something we're doing this year. But really culminates in the transition from our black and white cinematics from last year into like a 60s Technicolor sort of look. So that snapping the slate was like, we're changing over. This is the new look for the season.
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone got that.
No,
But
I'm glad you
Yeah.
clarified it. It's our vehicle into the world of color, and you can look forward to color throughout the rest of the season.
yeah, we did not do black and white this season, even though I loved the black and white last season, but I want to have it be an evolution from different eras. And I have my sights clearly pinned on the 80s for next year.
You
Yes.
know, I'm happy. What also made me happy was how cool it was to hear the theme song. I was like, yes.
Oh my God.
I was
Same.
ready. Yeah.
Same. Oh my God.
The
And
juices started flowing.
of course, courtesy of us. It's just the cuntiest.
So let's get into this movie theater meeting. So this is the first time all the competitors are meeting one another. It was very, very difficult keeping them separated until that moment. And you know, you've been on set before. I think there was these built out cubes in the parking lot of like
yes.
plastic black walls. And there was a little chair sitting in
each
and
one.
they couldn't
Oh my
talk.
God, that's amazing.
They did not see each other before that moment. That was it.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
And the personalities were like sparking left and right out of the gate. And we made sure that we showed that popcorn in the concession booth right before the whole sequence started, because you're going to need some popcorn for these fights.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of season 4 when the cast meets each other for the first time. Like specifically, I think about just the instant static of Mary and Sigourney, where there was just like, they just got off on the wrong foot. And I just think that when Vivi comes in, I mean, it was like for a minute, Vivi versus the world. And I was like,
Yeah.
God, I love her. Like, I don't even think she was trying to be so severe, but I was like, girl, you gotta reel it the fuck in.
it's very true.
It's natural. I don't think she can. And
Yeah.
that's what I think that is a strength.
I
I really love it.
Oh, yeah. Can I say like a general thing before we
Yeah,
get started?
say whatever you want.
I love this cast. Like
Mm-hmm.
y'all did such a fucking phenomenal job. Like, I love this cast. I love everything about this. Just their interactions are so good, and it's not always easy to get the cast to feel natural. Like, I think it's hard sometimes, and it's like, this is my first time on camera. This cast, I was like, okay, everyone came knowing what to do and how to have a conversation.
Yep.
It really shows on camera. Like, I
And
love that.
Over the course of the history of the show, we've had many seasons where the meeting was memorable and it was strong. But in season 4, it does come to mind. But this cast, once they're all in, like all the personalities are there, the energy is like bubbling, and I think they kind of deliver in a way that no other season has.
There is a lot of static.
Yeah.
And also, I think alliances that sort of get formed that you don't really see or hear about again until until the cauldron, where apparently some people think that there are full-blown alliances already. I was like, where'd you get that, honey?
Well, we heard some context clues where Scylla mentioned something about
Yeah.
like, well, there's people in here that I would protect. Well, who are they? Name them. Well, you'll have to find out, like that kind of thing.
So, okay, they meet each other for the first time. They're static with some people. Like Desiree and Majesty, I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now, do not mix.
Yeah.
They do not mix. Obviously, there was a lot more said than what made it into the show,
Sure.
because it would have been 2 hours long. But it was intense. It was right off the bat. They did not click.
No. And again, kind of like it was their version of like Vivi's personality. It was like completely, they had no control. It was just, oh my God, this is like a tactile response to this person. And
Yeah.
I can't stand her.
I kept wondering about Desiree and Majesty's kind of instant feud, and if that has something to do with, I know that Desiree is a mega fan of the show, and Desiree has been watching since season 1. I think a lot of them have, but Majesty coming back in and sort of this, I'm not doing Titans, I am doing a season 6. Like, I wonder if that really is a sticking point for some people, because it was a big conversation, but Desiree seemed to almost be like, get the fuck out of here, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her vibe, I think. I think she was like, you had your chance, like, get out of here. go let the Titans eat you up. I think you said something like that.
Damn. And Desiree's animosity comes up at the end of the episode in the best, most petty way possible. I love it. I love it.
So we also have this drama between Scylla and Auntie, which is like right off the bat.
Such a surprise.
What did
honestly.
you think of that?
It's actually okay. So Scylla, Auntie, and Aurora is actually, well, at this current stage, is my favorite little pocket drama.
Yeah.
Because I was not expecting it. And I think when I think about Auntie has already delivered exactly the character who I thought that she was going to be, except I thought that she would be maybe a little bit more nurturing to Scylla. And she's like, bitch, you were not ready for this competition and you were not ready for me. And
She's the mother bird that pushes the baby right out of the nest.
Hell yeah. And I kind of live for it. And then there's also Scylla and Aurora, which, I mean, holy shit, man. Ooh, okay.
Speaking of Auntie and Scylla, this mother-daughter combo are kind of my two favorites on the scare sequence as they're coming into the lobby to meet each other for the first time. Everybody gets scared, which I love. I giggle and scream every time someone else giggles and screams. I love it. But Auntie was so camp. It was so funny and entertaining. And then Scylla was just a great screamer.
Totally.
I think she was legitimately scared. I mean, I was there and they were scared. They hadn't talked to anybody at that point. It was just, it's that first day where they're like, what? I know the Boulets are going to do something crazy to us. What is it? And they didn't know what was going to happen in that hallway.
It's excitement. It's the intimidation factor. It's fear of the unknown. It's all of it.
So I have a question.
Yes.
What the fuck happened with Asia's wig? Because I saw the scare actor take it, but then Asia wouldn't give us a straight answer. And I was like, okay, I mean, this could be, and I mean, for spoilers, it ends up sort of working in Asia's favor, creates a story. But at the same time, I was like, well, bitch, what the fuck happened to your fucking wig?
I will say, in the show's defense, it's not the fault of anyone on production or anybody that was working as a scare actor that day.
So did Asia just take her own wig off?
People talk to one another and plan things and do things. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but as I said previously, I do love a stunt queen, and I was already a fan of Asia, wigless and all, or wigless.
There was one other little moment that I love because we're getting to see Yuri once again on TV, and you see this sugary sweet personality, but right underneath that is this catty bitchiness, which I can't get enough of, especially when she was like, Auntie's her mom, and she let her out of the house looking like that. Somebody better call CPS because she needs help.
Yes.
So funny.
Yeah, I really like Yuri's comedy so far. She has this other one that's it's an easy toss up, but I just thought that the timing is so good when Pi is like, oh my God, you're actually one of the people that got me into makeup. And Yuri's like, oh yeah. And now you see it in person. You're like, oh God, I shouldn't have done that. I'm like, all right, I like this.
That's true. I mean, I think we've said it on the podcast before. We have had our eye on Yuri for a long time.
Yeah.
And she was a great makeup reference, I think, for everybody for a long time.
Yeah, very influential.
So we wanted to cast her on the show a long time ago, actually. So I'm glad she finally made it.
So they get escorted into the theater proper where they see and meet Neo Hulu for the first time. And I love the reverence that she received. And it was great to hear their insight. Oh my God, I just seeing her on TV and now she's here in front of me. And I think she delivered it perfectly and really kind of encapsulated the spirit of the show. Then the curtains open and we get our first challenge of the season.
Yes, which is Horror Icons Reimagined.
Yes.
So we did it on season 4. We did it on the first season of Titans. And now it's back again. I don't know. I kind of think the fans have said they think that should be the first challenge every season, which I think is kind of interesting because it really, you have to make some choices and it really separates people into their classes.
Yeah. And then as the years go on and the seasons go on, the pool becomes smaller. So are you going to redo someone's look that have already done it on a previous season? Are you going to branch out and pick something more obscure? And whatever you do choose, it gives us a little keyhole view into your view of the world of horror.
And who's really ready to, as Auntie said, reimagine that character. We get a lot of different looks.
So we leave the theater and we go right into The Hunt from Hell,
Yes.
Yay!
which was a lot of fun.
It's
I mean,
so
they
good.
were terrified. They were terrified. And I get it. I mean, for one thing, one of the reasons they were terrified is what you didn't see is the clowns were, of course, armed with tasers.
Oh, you can hear.
Oh, you see a lot of it. You
Yeah.
hear
Hear it
like
loud
they
and
were
clear.
snapping
Well, I don't know
like
if everybody
crazy.
knows what that is or they just think we have
yeah.
bad sound.
Oh my God. There was actually one part that I was thinking, oh, that would actually, I don't know if it would scare me necessarily, but it would be uncomfortable to have to deal with.
I
And
think we're going to the same moment. Go ahead. I'll
it's
tell you.
like group 2, I believe. I don't know if it's group 1 or group 2, but one of the groups goes into the lockers and there's this little slit at the bottom where you can put the shock taser through. And I was like, girl, that's right on my pussy. Oh my God.
Okay, this is exactly the moment that I was thinking too, because that locker was so claustrophobic, you
Yeah.
couldn't move.
You couldn't avoid it.
The
Right.
horror was that if that clown decided to just stick it in, you'd be like,
And I've been there, honey. I'll tell you. It's horny.
I thought the suffocation chamber was the most shocking to them.
Oh, I love that because when the masks went on, I was like, okay, what is this going to be? And then I saw their faces getting pulled and I was like, holy shit, they're getting fucked up.
I think Gray's nose came off.
It
Did you
did.
notice
It
that?
did,
Yeah.
yeah. Sucked right off right
Yes,
into the
it sure
vacuum.
did.
So that's a good, nice, warm welcome for the cast, I think, to let them know what the intensity level is going to be. Because I will tell you now, if you're listening, the intensity level is high all the way into the very end. Yeah.
This is a level 10 Dragula experience, even though we're only on season 6. It is intense.
Yeah,
And Severity encapsulated it with one of our last comments on the way out of the haunt. If this is the welcoming that we're getting, and this is any kind of indication of what we're in for the season, it's going to be crazy. Yeah. And she's right.
She's right. So we go into creatives. I thought the creatives were more fleshed out this time. Like, did you all feel that way?
Yeah, I thought the creatives were really fleshed out this season. And what I really liked about them is I felt like everyone had something very different to talk about, which, of course, when it comes to drag, everyone's got their own thing going on, their own thing that they're really good at, but it's not always easy to articulate that. Like, I think some people come into the competition, they're like, well, this is what I do. And I'm like, I need you to like HGTV this down for me. And so
Right.
you have Pi talking about fisting the polyfill in, which I love. And then I gotta give it to Auntie. Dude, I don't know if Auntie was like, okay. And then I'm gonna say Yamakunt.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's my only note for
Girl.
creatives. It says anti-Yamakan.
Oh my God. I was gagged.
I was laughing.
so gagged. I have one question.
Yes.
So, was it like really hot when Vivi was doing her confessionals? Because she was sweating.
I think she was nervous.
Oh, poor thing.
It was not hot because it's free. You know how
I
we
know,
keep
it's-
the
that
soundstage
studio
is
is
freezing.
cold.
So if you're sweating, something's definitely happening. I think she was very nervous
From the inside,
Yeah.
not the outside.
Oh, well, I feel like, I mean, Vivi, I feel like in this episode has nothing truly to worry about. Like, I really, and maybe it's because there's so much riding on this experience and Vivi has kind of a lot going into the competition. But I'm like, Vivi, you're good. Like, I'm into it. Like, take a breath.
Yeah.
I have to say that the talking heads room, like when you sit down and you're in that moment, I feel like it's more intense than when you're just out on the show or the floor show or anything, because it's so intimate and quiet and everything's focused on you. Whereas when you're in the lab, it's focused on everybody. So I could see why she was sweating.
Okay, I guess I can see that.
Well, back in the lab, I think we get another big dose of everybody's personality.
Right.
Like this is while they're in the room and then like through the creatives, the Yamakon comment and everything. It was like really great. But I'm curious, Ian, what did you think of Majesty and how Majesty's coming across?
I actually wrote some notes down here.
Yeah, I want to hear.
So with Majesty, I want to say this, like Majesty, I have a huge, I'm going to use that word again, reverence for their drag. Like in season 2 and in the lead up to season 2, Majesty was one of the makeup artists that, I mean, everyone looked at them and it was, I remember when Majesty showed up on season 2, it was like, oh shit, like here we go. And at this stage, I'm just not 100% sure where their head's at. Like I feel like there are moments where I'm seeing, and this is, I'm just talking purely personality wise in the laboratory.
Yeah.
There are moments where I get the season 6 Majesty, where I'm seeing this sort of new personality. And hi, fake podcast personality here. Like, you can have more than one. It's okay. But I'm seeing this kind of reformed Majesty that I like. I'm seeing like, okay, cool. Like, you're saying these things. But then it makes me question, because I also get these, like, they'll say something like, yeah, I'm really here for sisterhood, unless I have to cut someone. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, why did you say that? Like, what do you mean unless you have to cut someone?
Right, like I'm here, something I'm going to paraphrase, like, I'm here to make connections with friends for now. It's like, oh.
Yeah, there's so many. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about?
It's interesting.
I think maybe they were warring with themselves a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And maybe not wanting to be that person who I think that they have, and I apologize if this is not correct, but maybe Majesty looks back on that time as, I don't want to be that person anymore. Which I can understand if you look back and you're like, oh, I don't want to be mean or intimidating or whatever. But I'm like, that person was and is a fucking star. And Majesty is still a star. So it's okay to embrace that.
This is what I think. I think, when Majesty was at home before season 2, I don't think they acted like that in their town, but when they got on set, in that environment and that pressure, that is the personality that they formed. And that's what they just naturally went towards. And I'm imagining they probably went back home, got back into who they were, matured, and then came back, but sort of found, oh, it's happening again. Ooh. I'm in that situation again. Yeah.
Like wherever you go, there you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. People, when they're at home, are oftentimes very different than when they're in the competition. And the reason is because when you're on set, it's so pressuring and so hard. It's like everyone's thrown into a legitimate cauldron.
Yeah.
And we turn the heat up. I mean, we keep throwing things at them to get them to sort of say who they like or who they did. We didn't want to go through that this year. We're like, I want to know. I want everyone to speak up. And thankfully they did.
There's one moment, and it was probably my favorite moment from this section of the episode. And Scylla and Aurora are like two cats in a bag. Like, you can see the tension and the animosity there, like flying like sparks left and right from both sides. But as the conversation is going back and forth, everyone's head is like whoosh, like a tennis match, like whoosh. And it was like so campy and so perfect.
I love it. I did want to talk about Scylla finding the scroll of immunity.
Yeah. What a twist.
I know. I also, oh my God. Oh, Maguma. I loved when Scylla is leading their group and she's got her trident out. Like, she's going to like poke someone.
I was like, what are you doing? You can't stab the scare actors.
Yes. So funny. But also, she finds the scroll, and I love the scroll. I just love it. I just think the scroll is so fun because it immediately puts a target on your back. And it could not have gone to a better person, in all honesty, because I think that Scylla has a lot to prove, a lot that she wants to say, and also everyone sort of looks at her, and maybe they didn't say this to her face, but at least when it comes to their confessionals, everyone's like, well, I'm glad you found it because, read. Mm-hmm. And it just creates this kind of like this pressure again. I'm like, oh, geez, man. Like, what are you going to do with that scroll, Diva?
That makes me so happy. Another thing that made me happy, the segment of the show that we refer to as Dynamics, the Boulet Dynamics, this is when we're introduced to the stage for the first time and you get to see the look. Ooh. And let me tell you this, Diva, the femme Bram Stoker's armor reimagined felt so correct.
Girl, let's talk about it. Y'all looked fucking incredible.
Well, thank you. And I've been wanting to do that armor for so long. And in fact, I've asked 2 other people to do it who failed miserably.
Oh.
And the artist that did it this time, because they built it for us, did an excellent job.
It's so cool. And it definitely gives what I think a lot of male gaze focused armor creators fail to do, which is listen, I love a lady in a tit plate. Like, I love it. I love, like, hi, the only armor I have is like these two like metal circles over my nips. Like, I love it. But y'all were in armor. I was like, okay, you could actually imagine that this would protect your body in some capacity. Like, it was cool.
And it was so comfortable.
It was.
Oh, okay. It always is, right?
Yeah, so that was fun, and we wore something different for the first episode than the promo look, which we usually wear the promo look on the first episode, but we wanted to change it up this time and kind of pay a little homage to the theme ourselves.
Yeah.
Little did I know we would be the first of 3 Dracula-inspired characters, but it is what it is.
Yes.
So when Yuri says, "Oh no, I'm the worst Dracula," which
I thought you said the shit Dracula.
I'm the shit Dracula. I'm like, oh, so you're actually Dracula number 4.
So let's talk about the judges, right? I was so happy. This is who we wanted to judge the first episode.
What
because
a panel.
We did things a little different this year. We're like, we want there to be a writer or director, and then we want there to be on-screen talent.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you have those two worlds, you have a lot of great feedback from both sides of the coin.
Yes.
Well done.
And so I was like, okay, horror icons. Jamie Clayton is the new Pinhead of Hellraiser. You can't get any more iconic than that. Akela Cooper has wrote so many movies that we now love. I mean, Malignant, y'all's favorite ever.
And Love, my favorite horror movie ever.
And Megan.
Megan,
Hello.
The Nun 2.
Yes.
And so I thought that was fantastic. I mean, for me, if I was on the show and I had those type of people giving me feedback, I would love that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
No, like what a opportunity just to be critiqued by someone with that kind of experience. I would invite them both back on any future season in a minute. I thought their commentary from both of them was phenomenal. My favorite comment came from Akela, and I think she was talking about Aurora's mummy when she said, "You're giving me Jean-Paul Gaultier's sleigh."
Yes.
There was a bit, I'll say, on Aurora's outfit. It didn't make it to the cut, but there was a bit of an ill fit in the back.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little, but that did count against her, I think.
Aurora was in my bottom. I don't know about all that. Aurora. Oops, sorry. Aurora had a weakest placement for me before any of the critiques happened. I thought, I like this. This is cool. But even especially with the way that everyone's kind of looking at her being like, okay, well, you can do Glamour, but what can you do? And we've seen Monstars come onto the show and give Glamour episode 1, but if you're going to do that, I mean, it needs to be meticulous Glamour.
Yeah, it wasn't that off. Like, to me, she had one of my favorite looks of the promo.
Oh
so
my
her
God.
first
Her
look,
promo
I was
is
like, oh, she's in top 3 of this promo look for me, for sure.
Deadly good.
So I think she set herself up a little bit in a way because she set the bar really high. So then when you see, okay, well, what is she going to bring on the first episode, And I don't think it was done poorly or anything like that. It was just like an off fit, I think.
Well, the monsters showed up and they decided to deliver filth in this floor show.
God.
I mean, I think back to even some filth-centric challenges, specifically filth in seasons prior, maybe did not reach the level of what we saw by their own choice during this floor show.
By choice.
Which was so cool. By choice. Which I thought was so cool to see.
Yeah, it's not often, unfortunately, it's not often that competitors opt for filth when given the options of horror and glamour. And when you see artists say, "Oh no, I'm gonna give some filth because I just want to. That's in my wheelhouse." I mean, that really excites me.
Me too. And there were so many good looks, I think, overall, that were really just serving some nasty filth that didn't necessarily make it to like the top 3 that were up for consideration to win. But Jaharia, I thought, was amazing. Gray was a standout. Pi was incredible. Of course, Asia, Auntie, Majesty, the stunt queen. I love her. Like that bloodbath moment thing. And I knew what the plan was, and I'm like, she made that yesterday. Like, she literally had the wheelchair and was like cranking it out like it was some kind of like, yeah. And she's in the workroom, and I was
cool.
like, oh my God. I was sweating. I'm like, is that going to work? And then you had that orgasmic moment where it just goes all over her face. I just thought it was great.
I loved it. I thought that look was fantastic. I thought the show was great. And because, again, this is our first time sort of being reintroduced to their art, I was like, you still got it. It reminded me that on season 2, everything that they did was very thought out.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was always little homages to things and stuff. It's very nuanced, and I really appreciate it.
She's cerebral in almost everything, yeah.
All right. So were there any other like standouts as far as top scoring or bottom scoring for you?
Yeah, so for me, I'm just gonna go with what I safely, correctly clocked. I was correct on Jaharia, Asia, Auntie, Pi, Aurora, Desiree, Severity, Scylla, I mean, of course, Immune. The only upsets that I had was I had Gray Matter up in the top and I had Majesty as safe.
I could see that. I think we had that conversation.
Yeah.
I will say though, when Majesty got back into the chair for that blood pump moment, that's when I said, oh, never mind. So sorry, everyone.
That's what did it.
That's it.
So that's what did it, right? Because Gray's look was awesome, but it didn't go anywhere. There was no performance to it.
The same thing with Pi. Like, I thought Pi's look was immaculate. It was so well done. The makeup was sickening. Like, I thought it was incredible. The proportions, I loved it all, but it just didn't go anywhere.
Well, I also didn't love the fact that her tail kept knocking all the lights off the stage. So we have to reset, do it again, reset, do it again. I'm like,
I
girl,
forgot
not on episode
you
one.
are punished.
Yes. I knew I was going to love it when in the creatives, they're like, I'm going to go from the true horror icon of Beetlejuice, the sandworm. Duh. I'm like, what a weird choice. Like, who in the fuck is like, you know what?
And then
the sandworm.
Then she's fisting the worm.
Yeah. It just,
I thought about.
The look was great. I loved it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was
amazing. Really great
original.
drag.
Yeah.
From the entire cast.
I feel like, and who knows, I have like secret freak vision. Gray Matter, you a freak. You a freak because I'm like, wow, I love this look. Like, I love Texas Chainsaw. I love this strange andro drag thing. She turned around, her ass was out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, you nasty. Top, bottom.
Now you're my girl.
So let's talk about Asia, because Asia snagged the first win of the season.
Hell yeah.
So Asia's look was fantastic, but the show was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she had so many props. She brought out that huge thing, hung a body upside down chains. I'm like, give her the prize.
Yeah,
you know?
like she spilled its guts out. I don't even know if the footage actually showed how cool that was, because that body got turned inside out.
So cool. I mean, very much Art the Clown. It's overkill. It's excess.
Yeah.
What I don't like is when people do that on episode 1, when the floor is
so
new. The floor is brand new. And by episode 9, I'm like, throw it in the trash.
Oh
Just throw
my
it in the trash.
God. Girl, there was so many fluids on that floor. I was like, oh no.
There's a particular challenge this season. Let me tell you. There was like 30 to 45 minutes of cleanup after every single
We
floor
were
show.
there all day.
And it is at the
Oh
beginning
my-
of the season. Like, you don't have to wait too long to see it.
That's the worst and the best when it's like, all right, everyone, we're doing filth or we're doing something that requires liquids. And it's like, well, there's 11. There's 11. And someone's like, well, I've got glitter
it's so
too.
painful.
I'd be like, Amy, what number are we on? 3. I was like, who?
Wow.
I'm like, and lunch is when? Oh.
Look, Asia is such a lovable winner too in this moment, in this episode. Just the exuberance and like the excitement and just like knowing the backstory too. They've auditioned many, many times and I'm finally here, bitch. And like just to be celebrated on episode 1, I felt very happy.
She was so positive and just fun to be around, but also a little shady. So it was really cool that she didn't just put on like a safe personality.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a safe outfit too.
Well, yeah, that too.
Because you could do Art the Clown and flop, honestly. But and you mentioned it, Drac, during, I think it was either the deliberation or in the judgment proper, where you're like, you can tell that you know this character. You've got the garbage bags and you've got all the weapons and just there's so much meticulous detail to it. And it's like, okay, Art the Clown, what are the characteristics? And then Asia comes out in this look that I'm like, this is couture. You look fucking great.
It was
I
very
agree.
cool, very imaginative too. So we finish with the judgment, and then we drop the gag bomb of the episode, which is we're not voting to see who's up for extermination. The cast is voting.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
You're welcome.
Like, thank you. I literally wrote, Divas, thank you for letting the cast go there. And voting on E1 is amazing.
I refuse for it to be the Get Along Gang. I'm not having it.
Hell yeah.
So I'm like, you all say stuff behind each other's back every season. I mean, talk mad shit on each other.
evil.
And when the camera comes on, you're like, hee hee, I'm so good, I like you. And I'm like, not this year.
Not you, bitch.
That's funny.
So what did you think of the cauldron?
I thought it was great. I do have a couple of thoughts.
Yeah.
One is, I think that there are some tropes that some people fall into that I'm like, I don't know that that actually works here. And it might just be because I'm an audience member. I'm a drag expert. So, hey, take it with a grain of salt. But Majesty makes this comment about Pi, who is saying like, oh, well, you're safe. You should be happy, and sort of lamenting that mentality. And I'm like, okay, yes, normally, but today, no. Like the only people who get to enjoy their Sir Vodka are Asia and Scylla. Everyone else does have a target on their back. Like, I'd be fucking scared too. I'd be like, ooh, I was safe, but I also was, and in their words, fucking really annoying all day. I would be fucking scared.
You got into the psychology of everybody, and all of their perspectives are different, and everyone's nervous for a different reason. Like, Yuri's like, oh, I was on the bottom, and he's like hiding in the corner. Pie's like, I'm so annoying. Yeah. She's hiding in the corner, and he's like, I'm gonna be fucking pissed if someone puts me up. And then Yuri's like, what should I put up, Auntie? I was like, oh my God. I love her shadiness.
Same. The one person who I gotta say it, and this is my only gripe, is Desiree. Freddy Fazbear is my horror hear me out. That's Daddy Fazbear. And I was like, now hold on, honey. In what Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria do you run out of? Because I want to know. Love you, Desiree.
She was fun in the cauldron, though. She's not afraid to speak her mind.
She's fire.
Oh, love her personality. Absolutely.
Okay, so we bring them back to the stage, and they have decided to put up Severity and Aurora.
Yes. This was really interesting, though, because I actually went down and wrote who got a vote. And so many more than two, because Yuri was voted for, Desiree, Aurora, Severity, Majesty, and Pi.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Very different than usual when we do something like this.
And this would be the petty move that Desiree did, which I learned. Like, well, she's coming for me the whole day, so Majesty.
I mean, in a twist, if two other people had said that too, that would have been it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think, in speaking of twists, unfortunately, I believe that Aurora sort of earned her placement in the bottom for this episode, even though I do believe that we have yet to see even a fraction. I believe in Aurora. I'll just say that. But I wish I could be in Aurora's brain for that moment, because I would have been fucking mad, dude.
I think she was.
Like, I would have been so mad.
I think you can tell if she had like heat vision, Scylla would have been incinerated like a pile of ash on the stage.
Oh my God.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be delving into this week's extermination.
Dun dun dun.
And we are back. So I have to tell you, this extermination was insane because, we were there again.
A nightmare come true. How long have we been talking about doing
We've
this?
been wanting to do this for a long time, but here was why we couldn't do it before. We had to plan this out so far in advance, okay?
Yeah.
And this is what happened. We originally were supposed to, we basically left the soundstage and we're supposed to go get on a plane to Florida that night. Like immediately, like, no, you do not pass go, you do not collect $200. Competitor, let's go with your makeup and everything, get on a plane. There was a giant tropical storm.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what are we going to do? Because we said shark diving. Like,
and we only have one day to shoot it because the production schedule is like rolling on right
the
after.
next episode's the next day. So we flew to Hawaii.
Oh my
Yes, we did.
God. Oh my God.
We found a different shark diving situation, and instead of going east, we changed the line in the episode. It's like, you're going to go out west to warmer waters, and that was something that developed literally in the hours leading up to going to the airport.
Yeah, I think they were hoping that the storm would blow over and not tell us before judgment. So then after, they're like, okay, I just have to tell you you're going to Hawaii. I'm like, what?
Oh!
Yeah. So I went, and Swan, because we had to break up directing responsibilities, so Swan stayed back and worked on shot lists and stuff for the next episode, and I went to Hawaii, which was the weirdest experience. You got to understand, I don't know Aurora or Severity at this point. I mean, I've met Severity before, but we don't know each other. So to be in Hawaii,
so
it was
right.
so bizarre. But yeah, we went to Hawaii. I was on that little ass boat with them the whole time. And I'll tell you what, it was rough. It was rough. It was in a way that like I haven't been on a boat rough before. People were getting seasick kind of because the boat was just like, boom, boom, boom.
And that actually tracks so heavily because there's one shot of Aurora where I was like, now hold on.
You're like, that's not green makeup. Like, she's literally green.
I was like, Aurora looks not just like, oh, I'm nervous. I was like, oh, I've seen that look before.
I mean, honestly, I felt a little like that, and I never get seasick, but I was like, this is a little bit much.
Oh my God.
Well, then it started storming, which I don't know. Could you see that? And,
Oh,
yeah,
you can see the dark waters for sure.
It was storming, and I was like, I don't care. Get in the fucking water. Like, we're doing this, you know? So
this is happening.
We park, and I didn't know. I thought maybe there'd be, you know, like 3 sharks or a shark.
Girl.
And then I saw, because I had the monitor, and our camera people were down there with their cameras.
Wow.
And I was like, because Aaron, the producer, was with us, and I was like, Aaron, am I looking at this right? Are those all sharks? And he's like, yes.
Amazing.
So when you're swimming in the middle, there are sharks around you, but when you look down, there are like 1,000 sharks.
Yes.
So
It
cool.
was so much more than I thought it was going to be.
So cool.
Yeah.
What a moment.
What did you think of that extermination?
I'm going to go ahead and say that I am really proud of both Aurora and Severity for doing it because I, for a really brief second, thought that Severity was going to pull an episode 1 special and I was going to have to be really upset. So I was very, very glad to see that. I think for me, the worst part of it, because I have a huge fear of open water. I do not like being in the ocean. It is not my favorite thing. That being said, I love sharks. Like, I think they're so cute. So I wasn't even focused on the sharks. I just kept looking at the water and I was like,
Oh my God,
oh
really?
the Cthulhu of it all. I'm like, cool, like a sea puppy with like fangs. Great. I have one at home. That's totally fine. But like a tentacle monster trying to get up in my Gucci?
So as far as how the competitors handled the extermination, I would say, since I was there and saw it, Aurora definitely had more gusto.
Oh, she dove in.
Aurora dove in. She stayed out there longer. Severity did get in, but I think she was getting a little winded. Like, the water was so choppy and rough. I think she was like, I'm not into this. Like, and I get it, you know, but yeah, I think ultimately Aurora had more gusto and approached it with more enthusiasm, I'd say.
And she ends the scene promising blood and vengeance should she
was so
return to the
pissed.
cauldron. Oh, she
I was
was
on that boat. They were like, I am pissed. Whoever did this to us, like, both of them were like, if we both make it, because I think they thought for a minute they might both survive because we've done that in the past. And they were like, if we go back, we're getting Scylla. Like, oh my! So I was
So
kind of like,
awesome.
I kind of want to put them both now so that they'll battle everybody. But
if we did that, then we wouldn't have perhaps the most sickening death scene to date.
Girl.
let's talk about
Severity's
this
death
scene.
is incredible.
Immortalized on film, honey.
It's not because she dies at my hands, but because it's so cinematic and so well done. I just love the look of it.
There's some details in there that I really like too that I insisted on, and I'm so glad they showed up. But like the teeth and the blood on the counter.
Oh, yeah.
I was very about that. I thought, you know, we gave her a true Candyman death.
Yeah.
With
Which, to our credit, we developed that death scene in a day.
Yeah.
You know, when we were back from shark diving and we had to film the death scene, it was something that we're like, well, how can we spin this? And we used the Candyman reference, and it was just like, oh yeah, we're popping in and out of mirrors, and it really
So
was just
cool.
part and parcel of that IP.
Yeah, I was very happy with it. And all the death scenes this season are very fleshed out like that.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, this death scene really, and like you said earlier, it's connecting to the intro where it goes into that very heavily saturated kind of Technicolor. And I was like, God, it's beautiful. And I mean, the killer, gorgeous, honey.
Thank you.
You were great.
Thank you.
You were great in the scene. And I want to talk about Severity a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Severity ended up going home first, as we all know, which I was very disappointed about because I know Severity loves the punk scene. She loves the goth scene. She knows the music. Even her entrance look, it had that pattern to it that was very punk rock. It was very punk rock and well done, I thought. It's unfortunate that this episode, I just don't feel like she showed up.
I think that she got in her head. And I think that I literally wrote down, I was like, Drax therapy corner, which was my favorite part of Judgment.
No, I thought that was so okay, and
you
literally,
did a great job.
I can pretend pretty well that I care, but Drax really does care.
Well, here's why. I've been there before. Like, I know what she was going through. And because, just full disclosure, she was very nervous and very in her head from day one. She was like, she couldn't speak clearly. She was shaking during Meet Our Monsters.
I could see her shaking during creatives. And I was like, is she nervous?
I think she's just overwhelmed. I think she just really wanted it. And that's why I'm like, come on, like, wake up. You can do this, But that's the nature of the competition, and you can't be sad about it. It is what it is. And if you don't show up one day, it doesn't mean you wouldn't be the winner the next day.
It's true.
Yeah.
And we've worked with Severity many times in Boston. Her city loves her, and I think that she's part of the tapestry that makes up the drag scene in that section of the country. I just don't think this was the moment for her, and I hope that Severity's listening, because we do love you. Well, we'll see you soon. We'll see you this Halloween, and you appreciate or at least see how we tried to handle your presence on the show and give you that recognition that I think you deserve.
All right, well, that's all for this episode of Postmortem. Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to watch episode 2 of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Monday night at 9 p.m. PT, 12 a.m. ET, only on Shudder and AMC Plus. And then join us back here next week for the recap. If you have any questions for us about the season so far or the first episode, please send them in to creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com and we will answer them on air on the next episode.
I want to throw this out there too. Fans, I'm interested. What do you think of the idea of Horror Icons Reimagined being episode 1 challenge every season?
And if you don't say you like it, why the hell did you vote for it when I put that poll out there last year? Because you did.
Ew.
All right, last thing. You absolutely must go online and pre-save our new EP, which is a Halloween holiday album, and you're going to love it. Make sure that you go pre-save it. It's coming out this Friday.
What's it called, Drac?
It's the Boulet Brothers Halloween House Party.
Yay!
Yes, and you can go to lnk.to/BBHHP.
The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Drac Morta and Swantula Boulet, along with co-host Ian DeVogler, with music by Neuron Spector.